Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am making a really cool video today, a very relevant video about a little bit about star seeds, how or why we even came, to Earth at this time, and the reason for our coming here was really to dismantle this other consciousness, this lower consciousness. So I really wanted to make a quick video today talking about this lower consciousness, or we can call it a reptilian consciousness, that we specifically are dismantling, along with the systems that were set up by this consciousness to feed this consciousness. So that's what this video is today, because I know I've made a few other videos in the past talking about things like narcissists and things like that, which is fine, but even going back further, it's good to look at where are these traits and behaviors even coming from to begin with, to sort of get a better understanding of what's really going on right now. So, when I talk about this reptilian / lower consciousness, okay, I'm also going to be explaining about possession, because this is something that I have come to a conclusion about after a long period of research. It finally kind of was like a puzzle piece that finally, the last piece was put there and made sense. And I finally understood, like, oh my God, this is what possession is. Okay, so I'm going to explain a little bit about that as well, because this is something that does happen. People get possessed a lot, and some people don't even know when they are and have entity attachments to them. So that's what I'm going to talk about today mostly. Alongside of the whole reptilian lower consciousness, I'm going to talk about how the system got hijacked in the first place with this lower consciousness, because it wasn't, supposed to be that way on Earth. So that's what this video today will be about. And let's start. So let me just give me a sec. So first, I'm just going to talk a little bit about star seeds, okay? So the reason that a lot of star seeds are here at this time, specifically star seeds, I'm not talking about the people, I guess a term that I've heard being used to best describe it, I did not coin this term at all, but I've heard it being thrown around a little bit, is earth seeds. So those are souls that, or consciousness that has incarnated for the sole purpose of learning lessons based on the evolution of that soul. So if it's an earth seed, its level of consciousness, hasn't evolved yet past that 3D. They're still learning lessons and things like that. So they're not going to resonate too much with this, because this message that I'm sharing right now about star seeds is specifically about higher dimensional beings, or we should use the word consciousness, higher dimensional consciousness, which has incarnated at this time into human body, into human form. So these beings, like myself, for example, we actually have memories of ourselves, our mission, why we came, the planet or star system that we came from, past lives. We have heightened psychic abilities. Just a sort of a sense or a feeling of being different in general from society, from people, things like that, having a deeper, always wanting, asking those existential questions and those deeper questions, older souls, okay? These are the people I'm referring to, who are very much service to others, not narcissistic at all, not like, only catering to their own needs. These are people who are the healers of society, who are those who genuinely help and make changes and make difference in this world, whether it's big, like they're front of the lines type of thing, where they're making those changes, like Trump, for example, where he's an actual president of the United States and making these crazy changes in the world, or whether you're a healer who is just from home, you have your own practice and you do a lot of like grid work or light work and healing work and things like that with the earth. So we all have our own abilities and skills and our own mission and our own ways. Some people just by being, just by sharing that vibration of being, which is authenticity, unconditional love, which vibrates very, very high. Just sharing that vibration day to day, just by them being, is also helping raise the vibration, the collective, vibration of the earth. So, many of us starseeds, light workers, have incarnated during this time. Specifically to help raise the vibration of Earth, okay, from 3D to 5D, the transition that we're making right now. So many of us have come from specific star systems that we remember. Like me personally, I resonate extremely strongly with the Pleiades. And that was one of the first that I came to resonate with and realize, or, remember, you could say. And one more recently for me was Mintaka, which I had never even heard of before. It just kind of came randomly into my reality and started showing up and things like that. And I started to resonate very strongly with Mintaka. Okay, so Sirius as well. Definitely there's some Sirius in there for me. And then others of you will resonate with different ones, like Arcturus maybe, or Andromeda, or there's many different star systems out there that you could resonate with. We have come from many different places. So I don't know too much about the other ones, quite honestly. I really don't. I do know about the more obvious ones that have been spoken of, like the Pleiades, Sirius, ones like that, because there are many starseeds who have come from those places, but then there's many starseeds who have come from other places that are not mentioned, and I don't want to exclude them. So I just kind of want to say that it's different for each person, and no one is going to tell you where you're from. Like on the groups online, everyone is like, well, not everyone, but a lot of people are like, putting pictures of themselves and saying, do you know where I come from? It doesn't work like that, because we don't resemble necessarily on Earth in our human form where we actually come from. Our race we could be blue skinned or something, where we come from, and be Caucasian here, or be Chinese here, or be somebody completely different. So you can't really go based on that. It's really about resonance. So there's many exercises you can do. For example, like look at some on YouTube. There's some starseed origin exercises that show different images of different constellations and star systems and things like that, and based on looking at them, you just go with how you feel. And like, it really does work, because I didn't feel too much with most of them, and with specific ones like the Pleiades, with Sirius, I think there was a couple more, but the strongest ones were with the Pleiades and Sirius, which I did not know at that time at all. I was just waking up. And I felt a very emotional response to seeing those constellations, the images on the screen. It was very emotional. Like, I almost was like, oh my God, like I want to go there. I want to be there. So you'll know. I encourage you all to do your own kind of research, go within, things like that, because it will be different for each starseed, each light worker. Okay, so the majority of us did come here at this time, though voluntarily. Some came for karmic reasons, like many of us have connections to Atlantis, to ancient Egypt, Lemuria, the Mayan, the Inca, like those times, those ancient times. A lot of us actually were here during those times, and many of us have karmic debts that we needed to repay in this lifetime. Maybe you maybe you did some bad things in your past life. You could have been definitely a higher being, absolutely, and maybe sort of overstepped your boundaries or overused your power, or you didn't use it for the right reasons, things like that, okay? Because Atlantis did fall because they basically started to lose touch with the spiritual side of life, and kind of go more technologically oriented. They went that direction. Their main focus was on technology and advancing technology. And they developed weapons and things that were very dangerous for Earth, very similar to now, not too long ago, when, we were developing nuclear weapons and things like that, atom bombs and things like that. that could destroy the Earth. And UFOs, the Galactic Federation of Light, they did have to intervene. That's probably one of the only times they can intervene, because there are laws set out, of course, in the universe. This is a free will planet, so they can't intervene for many things. But when the Earth is in danger, like the physical Earth is in danger in that sense, yes, they can, and they did. They came and they dismantled all of those nuclear weapons, the bombs that they had, that they wanted to test out, things like that. And they totally dismantled them. There's a lot of information online about that, about UFOs coming and just sort of deactivating or dismantling, huge amounts of nuclear weapons on site and things like that. And there's many witnesses to testify against these kinds of events. So it's interesting. But yeah, that's the reason that we did come here during this time. It is the Earth's time to ascend. This is a vibrational thing that I'm speaking about right now. Earth was supposed to ascend a long time ago, actually, but the system got hijacked by these fourth dimensional beings. These, I guess you could call it these reptilian beings. They have of a fourth dimensional consciousness, and this happened a very long time ago. I'm speaking millions and millions of years ago, okay? Because Earth has been around a very long time, and Earth was supposed to ascend a long time ago. So basically, this is the process we're in now, as we're going back to that timeline that we were supposed to be on a long time ago, and we're fighting the last of this lower reptilian consciousness that's still embedded in our culture, in our world, in our societies all over the world. So there isn't that much. There's probably, this is what Trump is doing right now too, is getting rid of the people who are still holding that reptilian consciousness in them. The only way to get rid of it is to get rid of the person who's embodying it. And that's what Trump is doing. All of these pedophiles, all of these people who are being locked up, well, these are the people who are really heavily embodying these entities in them to play out their agendas. They don't even know, some of them, that they're doing this, but unfortunately there's no way to get it out of them, so the only way is to sort of get rid of them. So that's what the process that we're in now. We're dismantling these systems. The thing about the reptilian consciousness, because they're fourth dimensional, they're very advanced beings, okay? Extremely advanced beings. They have a very well-developed knowledge of energy and how energy works, quantum fields, things like that. So they're not beings that we can see. They exist on the fourth dimension, which we cannot see with our eyes. We're in 3D here, so we can't see them. In order for them to play out their agendas and that sort of thing, they need to embody an actual vehicle, like the human body in this case. So this is what they do, and they've hijacked the reincarnation system a long time ago in taking over body after body after body that they could, okay? And this will tie into possession in a second. I'm going to explain possession really quick, but this is what they've been doing for a very long time. And when they embody it, like a human body, they're then able to play out whatever it is that they want. And the main purpose for them is that because they're in they're fourth dimensional beings, and because of the vibration of them and the way they operate, they cannot evolve past that or go past that. They're kind of locked in that fourth dimension, okay? So they need to get they've been blocked from source energy, from the other higher dimensions and all of that. So because of that, they're not able to get that energy that they require, like the rest of us when we connect, right? They're not able to do that. So they have to look for that elsewhere. And the energy that feeds them, that keeps them going, is the energy that's created by the vibration of fear, mainly. And that can also encompass, anxiety, stress, very low vibrational emotions. So these reptilian beings, I'm going to call it reptilian consciousness, okay? When they have found the ideal person, okay, body to take over in that sense, you will notice a change in the person's behavior. Let's say you knew them before. Okay, this is where I'm getting into possession now. You will see, first of all, in their eyes, like a completely different look, like they're not the same person anymore in that sense. And they sort of start to display very narcissistic and manipulative traits. Okay, but they're very smart. So it's almost like sociopathic in a sense, that they can be very extremely charming and nice and things like that. And then turn around and completely stab you in the back or whatever it is to get what it is that they want. They know how to do this. So you're dealing with very intelligent beings, okay, who know how your psyche works, who know how energy works, how the human mind works, things like that. So they will know how to be charming. They will know how to lie and manipulate to get what it is that they want. And they will know how to create the right environment to create anxiety and fear, because that is the energy that they feed off of that and that they need in order to basically survive. So think of a vampire that requires blood, and when it goes out to feed, right? That's essentially the same analogy, but with energy. Now, I just want to clarify, when I say reptilian, I'm not referring to every single, reptilian race out there. So keep in mind that there are many benevolent, good reptilian races that are of higher dimensional beings. So I'm not referring to those, because I do recognize that there are other reptilian races that are good, and those beings, of course, reside in higher dimensions. So they're not connected to what I'm talking about. I'm referring specifically to the fourth dimensional, we can call them the Draco reptilian entities / consciousness. Okay. So what happened is the Galactic Federation of Light. So what happened is the Earth, this was a few thousand years ago. I think it was like 6, 7, 8, I don't know, somewhere around there. 1,000 years ago, the Earth finally hit that light quotient, the light quotient required, which I think was like 50% or something like that. I'm not sure of the details. But Earth was able to hold about that much percentage, let's say 50% of light, that light quotient, in order to now make that ascension to 5D again. So when that happened, there's a grid. Basically, there's like a grid around the Earth that quarantines it off from the rest of the universe and the rest of the, solar system and all that, just to protect it so nothing can interfere and keep it from ascending. Because there has been already too much interference in that sense. Earth was in 5D already millions of years ago. And then a lot of, shit happened, we'll say, that lowered her vibration down to 3D. And it's been a struggle, basically, right? Going back from now 3D back to 5D. So we were supposed to be there millions of years ago already. But we're doing it now is the point. We're doing it now. And we are dismantling and getting rid of that lower reptilian consciousness. Okay, that's essentially what's happening. And you're seeing this playing out in the world, in the sense of, Trump right now with Biden, for example. This is a classic example, a great example to show the two consciousnesses, playing out, basically. Okay, we're switching. We're going from dark to light. This is what's happening. Trump, as much as anyone maybe wants to disagree with me, Trump represents the Galactic Federation of Light. That's what he represents. Biden right now represents the cabal, represents the lower reptilian consciousness. Okay, this is just to show you the behavior. So when you look at Biden, for example, who is a puppet, okay, I'm not going to give him all that credit and say he's this master magician of energy no, he's not. He's just a puppet, and he's very weak-spirited, so he's being used, okay? But he's being used right now to play out that agenda. There's many levels within that, even hierarchies, where a lot of them don't even know what's really going on. They're just being used and manipulated and going and playing that out because they're just too weak-spirited to wake up and realize and take that power back. So Biden basically represents the cabal because he is all, he's a pedophile. He promotes all the dark agendas right now that the cabal has been playing out for a very long time, which is, human slavery, basically, lowering just the vibration, child abuse, abuse of humanity in general, abuse of animals, abuse of the environment. It's just an abusive kind of culture that they represent. While Trump, on the other hand, right now is trying to lock up those people and liberate humanity and bring equality to the entire world. Now, I think people don't realize how important the United States is for the world. This is not to put Trump up on a pedestal. No, the United States is a powerhouse, okay? Like, it really is a huge influencer on the rest of the world. Whatever happens in the U.S., if the U.S. is destroyed tomorrow, are you saying it's really not going to affect the rest of the world? Of course it is. Of course it is. So whatever Trump is doing right now for the U.S. is huge for the rest of the world, because they're creating huge ripples, which are going to go throughout the entire world. The decisions he makes will affect the rest of the world. I personally live here in Bolivia, yet I'm a huge activist of this. Why? It's not for political reasons. I could care less about Republicans and liberals and Democrats and all this bullshit. I really don't care. Anyone who knows me knows I am not a political person. I never have been. I am not interested in politics. I don't read about politics in that sense at all. Okay, the information I'm sharing is strictly in the interest of humanity. Okay, this guy, this Mr. President Trump, is literally leading this movement and helping us move forward and dismantle this lower reptilian consciousness that I'm talking about. So I'm very grateful for that, and I've said this in so many videos of mine. Not to promote him in that sense at all. That's not my agenda. It's just to make people realize, give him the credit where credit is due. You know what I mean? He's doing a lot, and support the guy for what he's doing, because he's working hard. Instead of bashing him and shit-talking him and finding things to pick on about him from 20 years ago that are so irrelevant and so stupid to even talk about, why not, recognize what he's doing? Why focus on all the negative stuff when so much positive is happening right now as well that you could be talking about? You could be showing your support, just like you wanted everyone to show support for BLM and this and that. Well, moving on from that, now look at what's happening with hashtag Save Our Children, that's huge. And I think a lot more people should be showing their support on that and their awareness on that, and showing a little better discernment with the news and media. People just kind of shy away, or they just be quiet completely now. They just don't want, they're afraid to speak. Don't be afraid to speak. There's no need to be afraid to speak. If everyone spoke their truth, we would have so much more power, okay? And things would move a lot quicker too for us. So, this lower reptilian consciousness, which hijacked our system, and it did hijack the system more heavily, I would say, roughly in the 20s, maybe around that time, the 1920s, when the grid was opened up again to allow us starseeds to come in. Because like I said, there was a barrier, right? There was a grid that was put around the earth to protect it and keep it quarantined off. So when the time was correct for the earth to make that final ascension, a call was kind of put out for these volunteers, these light workers and starseeds of higher vibrations, to come and help with that ascension process and to raise the consciousness on earth during this time. So the grid was opened temporarily to allow these souls to come and incarnate onto the earth. And the system was hijacked during that time as well by these reptilian beings, this consciousness, let's call it, okay? So they kind of got in, they infiltrated the system. And how should I say this? From the 4D, from the fourth dimension where they reside, they really understand mind control and frequency, and they know how to manipulate us from there. Even if they're not attached to you, they know still how to change your mood and put bad thoughts into your head, things like that. Sometimes if you think about, like, if you notice, you'll just be doing something and all of a sudden you start getting these bad thoughts, like random things in your head, random images. This is them. They know how to use, they have their own technologies within the 4D as well to put these frequencies and these, everything's frequency and energy, like I've said many times. So even images and things like that can be put into you using frequency technology, which they have mastered, which they know how to use. And one thing is, another way they do this very heavily is through subliminal messaging, okay, through movies, music lyrics, commercials, ads, books. I mean, if you look at some of the books on Amazon for children that have been coming out and publicized because they're promoting pedophilia, it's crazy. They're putting this in everything. And in also the frequency of music, of mainstream music that's coming out, like Katy Perry, Rihanna, like Jay-Z, like all this very mainstream music that's coming out is of a specific frequency that's not resonant, that's not harmonic for our bodies, and actually creates a state of anxiety and fear in us. So, when you keep these things in mind and you become aware and conscious about it, you need to then start changing even the music that you're listening to, because that does affect you. It actually affects your DNA heavily as well when you listen for long periods of time to this sort of music. So it's important to really cut your cords on any ties and vibrate very high so you can be far away from this consciousness. Okay, it's being dismantled, so you don't have to worry and say, oh my God, and panic, and how am I going to deal with these beings. No, it's not about that. It's just about keeping your own energy high, vibrating high, and spreading that around you, because eventually they're gonna be gone. It's all gonna be gone. It's just that right now they're really trying. There's not that many left of them. They're really trying because they know that they don't have much time left in that sense, and they're losing all their chances, but they're gonna keep trying, and they're using anyone they can who is matching a vibration, I guess, sort of to them, and plays into their narratives and their tactics, you could say, and can easily influence them. So when you meet people, for example, who just are, and I don't know what better word than narcissist, but display very heavy narcissistic traits, just be very careful in that sense, and in not getting attached and or cutting cords with people like this, because they're very intelligent, like I said, and they know how to guilt trip you and get you into thinking and doubting yourself, things like that, lowering your vibration without you even realizing sometimes. So you really have to be aware, okay? Be aware and conscious, and remove these people from your life. Keep them out. You're the one who's in control. You set those boundaries. I've had to deal with so many narcissistic people in my life. It's insane. And it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's essential, because unconditional love starts with you. We're moving into that frequency of unconditional love in 5D. And part of unconditional love is accepting that these people, these narcissistic beings, okay, who are embodying that reptilian consciousness, lower consciousness, are also playing their own role, okay, in this universe. They're also playing their own part. So you're not going to change them. Absolutely, you're not. You cannot change them, because they're not going to change. That's who they are. They're of that frequency. So it's not your job not to change them, but to accept that's who they are, because a pure acceptance is unconditional love. Okay, that's the first thing. Pure acceptance of anyone, on any path that they're on any journey that they're on, that is unconditional love. And it starts with you. It starts with you first accepting that of yourself, pure acceptance of you. Once you have purely accepted yourself and loved yourself, because they go hand in hand, you will then reflect that on the rest of the world and see the rest of the world in that way, in that light. And you won't attract these people anymore. You don't attract these people anymore, or this energy, this consciousness anymore. Let's see here, one sec. Oh, right. So I didn't finish about possession. Sorry, guys. So now that I've sort of explained what it is, possession is when a reptilian being like this, or a lower consciousness being like this, has the consciousness has overtaken a human body. So that person that soul or the consciousness that was originally in that body, when they go through a possession and then they overcome the possession and get that lower consciousness out of their body, many of them don't even remember anything of what they did, literally, because the other being, that entity, that consciousness, the reptilian one we'll call it, has already at that time had overtaken the body. So a lot of things happen because this consciousness, reptilian consciousness, many times will start to speak in different languages, in its own language, reptilian language, whatever it is that they speak in their dimension. Their eyes will change, become kind of darker and more intense, and their energy will change. Their voice, their tone, everything changes because they're literally this is another being that you're dealing with at this point. That's what possession is. It's not a devil. So the first thing is the devil doesn't exist. Okay, the devil's not real. Just like when they talk about, God, it's not like a guy up in the sky who's judging you. No, that's not what God is. God's not even an ET or a being. God is an energy. It's a frequency. It's a consciousness. It's a consciousness. That's the best word I can use. The consciousness of all, though, of everything. And so, yeah, when somebody is possessed, like literally somebody's convinced that this person's possessed by something, by the devil or whatever they want, demon, that's what it is. It's a reptilian attachment, basically. It's a possession. That being has taken over that body. So it's just about raising the vibration of the body in order to make it unbearable for that being to exist anymore in that body, so it exits. I don't know, much else about possession, like on that's not something I know anything about, but I wanted to give that input, I guess, on possession, and that is what possession is. In case you know anyone who's been through it or just was curious, that's what I believe possession is. Yeah, so just some characteristics, okay, of this of people or beings who are embodying this reptilian consciousness. They have a very strong presence, extremely, extremely strong presence. Like when they walk in a room, everyone will notice them, type of thing. Okay, so they definitely have that about them. It's not somebody who's just like in a corner all quiet and weak. No, they have a very strong presence, extremely charming, very deceptive. So they know how to sort of be fake and deceptive and tell you what you want to hear and things like that to get what they want. Okay, deceptive, narcissistic, intelligent, invasive, kind of different look in their eyes. Like when they're looking at you, you almost get super uncomfortable because you're like, they're looking into your soul almost, and it's almost like invasive, like they're invading your privacy. They have that look in their eyes. They have manipulation tactics that they use constantly, and they're pathological liars. These are the characteristics that I've sort of made a list of based on what I've studied, what I've experienced with these kinds of beings. So just to end this video really quick, okay, I just wanted to give you some advice based on this information that you now know, to remind you, okay, the people who are watching this, these light workers, starseeds, the reason that we came here is we have the power to alchemize and dismantle these systems and this consciousness. That's why we're here. We are warriors of the light, okay? I actually have a page on Facebook called Warriors of the Light. Feel free to like the page, follow the page. I constantly share this kind of information there because I really feel like, we came as like a legion, of light workers, and we are warriors. And we need to be reminded, I'm here to remind you that you are this powerful, powerful, powerful warrior, creator, light being who came from higher dimensions with a mission, with a very important purpose. And it's different for everybody. So don't compare yourself to other people, other light workers. It's not about that. It's not about competing. We all are here to offer a different kind of way to raise the vibration and help in this ascension process. So really focus on you and what you're good at and what you love, most importantly, and you will figure out what it is and how you can carry out that mission of yours and help, okay, in your own way. So we have the power to do this because we are currently dismantling these systems that were created by and feeding reptilian consciousness. Many of us are grid keepers, star seeds, those on the front lines. We are all helping to alchemize. Even if you're just being, just you sharing your vibration, your high vibration of authenticity, of unconditional love, that in itself is sending out huge ripples in the rest of the planet, okay, to raise the consciousness. If you're a grid keeper, if you're somebody who has moved around a lot and you've been placed strategically on certain parts of the planet and you feel alone sometimes because you're constantly moving, well, I understand that and understand one day we will all be united, but you have a purpose. And if you are put in random parts of the world, it's because you're there to share your energy in that part of the world that needs healing and that needs raising the vibration of. Yeah, and just last thing is unconditional love. Like I said, it starts with yourself. Remember that. Talk kindly to yourself. Be aware and conscious of your self-talk, how you talk to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Say nice things to yourself. Don't put limits on yourself. Know that you can achieve and have anything, any kind of life that you want. No one can ever tell you that you're not worthy or that you can't or you don't deserve or you're not capable of, because that's a lie, and that's part of the lower reptilian consciousness. Anyone who tells you that is of that consciousness, and you need to really cut your cords and your ties with that person, because that's not how it works. That was done on purpose, okay? All of this behavior, all of these things that were done to us to make us doubt ourselves and feel guilty and limit ourselves, limit our belief in ourselves, not trust ourselves. That was all done by this lower consciousness, this reptilian consciousness, to dim our light, essentially. That's why they've been doing this, is to dim our light and not have us hold our power and become these creator beings, these angelic humans that we really are, these 12-stranded DNA beings, okay? They even manipulated our DNA to such a point where they took us down to 2 active strands, when in reality we should be 12 active strands. That's 10 strands of DNA that they deactivated. So if we're like this now with 2 active strands, some of us have maybe 3, you know, a lot of us are reactivating those dormant strands. Can you imagine the powers and abilities that we will have? So I don't know how long that will take, to be quite honest. It might take, before we're fully 12-stranded again, it might take another 1,000 years. I really don't know, a few hundred years. I just know that we are in the process of now reactivating those dormant strands. And that's what these ascension symptoms a lot of us are experiencing are. So just stay strong, guys. Stay strong. Love yourself. Focus on bettering yourself, on healing yourself, on loving yourself. And when your cup is full and you have really, you know, your light is shining so bright because your energy is full, that's when you can really make a difference in the rest of the world and let that, you know, guidance and help and everything flow out of you to the rest of the world. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say today, guys. Sending you a lot of love, a lot of light, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.